Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary, and this is some of the art that I've done. I've been a student in the Creative Arts program at Calgary Association of Self-Help now probably for at least 7 or 8 years. This is some more of the art that I've done, including the little eye patch on my dog there. I was learning how to knit. I've taught, I've made the Filipino lantern and all that, and done knitting, and even taught a bunch of students how to make ornamental drums a couple of weeks ago. And most recently would be the bag that's up there out of t-shirts. Like I said it earlier, I'm also a human rights advocate. So I am a member of the Disability Action Hall and Alberta Parks Push to Open program. And these are some of the things that I've done. The one that's a blanket is, it was when PDD was going into people's homes without consent, the persons with developmental disabilities, and doing home inspections. And we found out that people with developmental disabilities who are married didn't have to do the home inspections. So I asked the Action Hall, well, what do you want me to put on this blanket? And they said, well, how about get wet, keep your bed? So that's what I put on that blanket. And then we went and brought that to the legislature building to show them that. And we chose, it's supposedly spring, but that particular day it went from a +20 to -20. I'll just explain a little bit more. The second photo is the bedroom scene, because in the Action Hall we believe everyone has the right to love and has the right to have a safe and private bedroom as well. And we did that one. And the third photo, which is my favorite, was the humanities postcards that I made and sold. The humanities program at St. Mary's, some of you may know, provides education to people with low incomes, and they pay tuition, books, bus pass, food, like basically everything you need. And I wanted to give back to them, so I made some postcards and sold them for $1 each. And in one night, I sold $150 worth of postcards. And then someone gave me another 20, and I threw that in the pot too. And that's my main presentation. As a mixed media artist, I love to do photography. I also love to go out into nature and experience nature's healing powers. In 2015, as a student at St. Mary's Humanities program, well, I did mention that part. I can go on. Now on to my story. I'm a person with a couple of disabilities and a mental illness. I was born with a hole in my heart that was supposed to close 4 days, or close right after birth. It didn't close. At the age of 4, I had my first open heart surgery. At the age of 12, the hole reopened, and I had my second heart surgery at 15 years old. I was born lacking oxygen and what was called a blue baby. I was born in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and moved to Calgary sometime in the early 80s. As I grew up, I had trouble keeping up with other kids at school. I was slow, disorganized, and clumsy. Teachers wrote on my report card, Mary, slow, unable to learn, retarded. I had a hard time making lots of friends when I was growing up, and I was often targeted by bullies. I was like the Gosling in this photo. I was a loner, quiet and trying to stay out of trouble when I was in school. Like the porcupine, I needed to protect myself from the bullies. I needed to hide my feelings inside me and protect them, just like the porcupine tries to protect its belly from the coyote. I needed to tell my bullies where to go. That is what I did while I was growing up here in Calgary at school. As I grew up and defied the odds I graduated high school and defied the odds, and then went to SAIT. When I was at SAIT, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I was 20 at the time. At 30, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, the nonverbal learning disorder. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis. I'm not sad or mad at being labeled or whatever, diagnosed late in life. On the contrary, it seems like a blessing to me. Now I know why it's hard for me to walk, why I'm scared of sudden lights and sounds, why I'm disorganized, clumsy, and anxious. It's not my fault I am that way. It's okay to be different. It's okay not to be perfect. I'm kind of like the deer. He or she may look different, but he or she reminds me it's good to be unique. I worked hard. In 2003, I was an honor student at Mount Royal, graduating from the Early Childhood Care and Education program. 4 days before graduation, my practicum instructor asked me to come in for a meeting. I was surprised to see all my teachers present. They told me that they agreed to allow the practicum instructor to change my grades from A's to F's. This hurt me a lot. I filed a human rights complaint against the college and found out the reason I was kicked out was because I had ADHD. This instructor didn't think students with ADHD could safely work with kids, even though I'd never put a child in danger. While fighting the human rights case, I continued to work hard as a computer specialist teaching kids with ADHD and autism how to use a computer at a residential camp in the States. I overcame a lot of hurdles just to survive. I had a lot of support from family and friends, and it was because they listened to me that I'm still here today. Okay. This one's the robin. I feel lucky that I have access to all sorts of healthy things, and but I'm on AISH, and sometimes I don't have access to those things. I can't always afford the bus passes and whatever. And Robin just reminds me that, that everyone has the right to things like healthy food and all that. Yeah. Oh yeah, this slide. Well, I chose to do this slide because it reminded me of Access Calgary. Because at every time Access, when you phone them, they always ask you, instead of saying, "Hi, what's your name?" they say, "Hi, what's your client number?" So I'm like, if I was the deer and as a deer, I had to call Access Calgary, and they called me by that number, I'd say, well, deal with it. I'm a deer. Yeah. 3 years ago now, I think almost 4, I moved out on my own for the very first time. So I live in a really nice, supportive apartment, even though I'm kind of scared sometimes to be in it. It's just because of my anxiety disorder, not really because it's bad. But I feel lucky that I have support there, and one of my support workers is here tonight. And I wish everyone had a chance to have a support to live in the home that they're choosing. And oh yeah, this beaver's telling me where to go. As I stated earlier, with the Persons with Developmental Disabilities program, they were entering people's homes without consent. And this beaver reminds me, you need to ask for consent to enter people's homes. And I left as soon as I took that photo. And these 3 photos remind me that it's important to get support when needed and when you want it, and the type of support that you want, not the type of support dictated by the government. And that's all I got to say about that one. Oh yeah, the loudmouth gopher. As Laura Hershey once wrote, you get proud by practicing. So I suggest people should practice using their voice. And that's how you get proud. This one, sometimes the pathway is not paved or whatever. There's barriers in the way, or in the duck's case, he got his foot stuck in the mud. And sometimes that, there's just barriers in the way, but you got to learn how to deal with them and overcome them. And it's okay to be diverse. We all belong here. Nature knows no building codes. That's something that we always talk about in Alberta when I work with Alberta Parks. And I'm like, I would like to tell that to PDD as well. Because they were talking about all these safety standards. Well, the spider had no problem building his spider web. And he had no education other than the fact he's a spider and he knew how to do it. And then for the owl, well, the owl's there. It reminds me of knowledge, that they have to have the knowledge to take care of people with disabilities well, not just be there for the job. That's it. The gopher reminds, in nature, there's certain things that I know as a photographer I must do. Like in nature, I must be quiet like the gopher, kind of blend in with the environment and, take the photo. But I also got to have open ears like the hare and listen to what's happening around me, or else I'll miss something. And for the bear, we all know that you don't actually go up to a bear and take a photo of him, because we don't want our heads chopped off or anything. So actually for the bear photo, I was in a bus, a locked bus, and we were just on the highway and the bear was walking right by us. And for the deer one, I got to remember, I'm there to share the space with others. If they're there, they're there. I'm not going to be pushing them out of the way. And for the spider web one, that was taken at 5 a.m. before anyone could trample it. I don't think I'll be taking another photo at 5 a.m. anytime soon. Yeah. Sometimes the path is not paved, but doesn't mean it's not accessible. It just means one photo's disappeared. That photo, actually, that's okay, because you can go to the next slide. It is actually there too. I'm on the all-terrain wheelchair in that photo, which is a brand new wheelchair available in Alberta parks. What many people don't realize is that this summer they started renting them out at Fish Creek Park. And it has one wheel on it. I call it the human wheelbarrow because there's a human on it. But it requires a lot of trust and a lot of working together. And it's been up. That one's just coming off Tombstone Mountain. That's after we realized the brakes are broken. Yeah, and the second photo is kayaking. I got to try that for the first time a couple years ago. And this is another brand new adaptive equipment. Jill was supposed to be with me tonight from Alberta Parks, but unfortunately she did 4 shows today, so she's a little tired. But this is one of the brand new wheelchairs at Sukhumi Lake that actually floats on the water. It's the beach wheelchair. We didn't realize until this summer when the lake opened, we've had this wheelchair for the last 15 years. It was actually someone stored it so far in the back that it took us 15 years to get at it. There's another thing that I got to do with Push to Open. There's cross-country skiing. I actually realized skiing is actually easier for me than walking, which is kind of odd. And like I said, that photo at Tombstone Mountain, that was where we had lunch after the breaks. After the break, we had, the only reason we didn't fall down, or I didn't fall down the hill, is because our blind hiking guide decided to sit at the cliff. We actually had a guide who many people know at William Watson Lodge, Ross Watson, and he's climbed up every mountain in Kananaskis totally blind. This is probably the hardest slide for me. I actually emailed Cecile, who's a friend of mine, and her photo's in there, on November 12th, inviting her to this show in particular. And about 20 minutes after I emailed her, I got a phone call from one of my other friends to find out she passed away. And this is a statement that she wrote. It says, "When one has been pushed to the periphery, benched, pushed aside, ignored, and told they better sit out, it is beyond comprehension that there would be time when you can try things without criticism, with good-hearted competition, and with acceptance." Cecile Bull, Alberta Parks Push to Open Ambassador 2008. And that's what the photos are. Actually, this particular trip that we went on, it kind of coincided with my aunt's vacation from Australia. So this was my aunt's first time as well into Banff National Park. And we actually couldn't come back where we were on the lake because there was a bear following us. But yeah, this is Cecile's stuff, and I really wish she was here, but I think she's here in spirit. And that's the end of my presentation.
Sort of what inspires your photography. I know you and I had a few conversations about that, about telling stories through your photos and the patience it takes to get there.
Yeah, I had to think about it because really I haven't really talked about my photos before. But I don't know, it's just, I really like taking photos. I feel very blessed to be actually living right by the Inglewood Bird Sanctuary, so close that I can actually just open my window and look at it. And but I also know that not everyone has that option of just being out in parks. I mean, I live in a community now that has good access to parks, but not everyone does. And yeah, I just really love doing it. I find whenever I'm upset, I go to the bird sanctuary and I'm not upset by the time I get out. And I kind of, even when I'm upset at school, if I've had a bad day, if I go sit in the back of the school with no one around me, and it kind of looks like I'm nuts, but I find that I come back much calmer.
Any questions for Mary?
Yeah.
Yes. With the pictures you chose, like mostly the nature pictures, what made you decide to choose nature pictures to describe yourself?
I just find nature is beautiful, and nature really doesn't have any boundaries. It doesn't have any rules. And I kind of like that. I'm tired of being surrounded by rules all the time.
Okay.
Cool. Is this photo taken with a professional camera or?
Actually, no. I have the camera here tonight, which I can show you guys later. It's just a regular digital camera.
Did you want to talk, Mary, a bit about the challenges in getting the camera and access to computer? And
Oh yeah. Well, the presentation tonight in general isn't to get it up and running. Every time I downloaded the photos or downloaded the presentation onto the computer, it deleted the photos. So this is my actual backup presentation, but money is a huge factor. Like I said, I am on AISH. I am a student, and I do pay rent. So I can't really afford to get something like PowerPoint or Microsoft Office installed on the computer. It does have to go a little bit to the side. The camera itself is not a professional camera. I would love to have one, but I just do whatever I can with the photos I have. I do have an online photo gallery, which I can share the information with you guys, just pass it around. It has a photo of a bee and a bunch of flowers, and that photo is actually done with my cell phone. But I just took it because it was kind of cool, and also because I wanted to prove to myself you don't need an expensive camera to do such a beautiful thing. And in regards to transportation, well, Access Calgary is a pet peeve of mine. But like for example, tonight they took us on a nice detour of Southwest Calgary for coming here. But yeah, transportation is huge. Access Calgary, I can't say enough about them going to Fish Creek Park. They actually have been out at Fish Creek Park and have done all their GPS things, but they still can't find the park, and sometimes they don't think it exists. That park, just for your information, I found out recently, is the biggest urban provincial park in North America. It's 256 kilometers wide. And they still think it doesn't exist. But yeah, just even dealing with those and dealing with AISH, I thankfully have someone else dealing with AISH because I would probably want to kill them if I didn't dealt with them myself. But
Any
yeah.
other questions for Mary?
Mary, you talked about a court case that you started. Tell us
Yeah,
something of that.
the human rights case, like I said, I went from grades A's to F's. There was really no reason for that to happen. That was a really tough time for me because I actually left the country like during the case because I felt so hurt being here. So, but yeah, it took 2 years to complete that case. I ended up, I'll say it's not the best winning. I mean, I won because they recognized that there was discrimination. But the recommendation from that court case was that I take the same course over again with the instructor. And I am like, no, not happening.
Any final questions? All right.
If I can just add something to what Mary had said regarding the Mount Royal College. All they can really say to the finality of the whole case was, we'll give you a withdrawal from the course because we did not find any justification to fail.
Yeah, that's my dad, by the way.
Mary, did you want to talk about your last slide with the contact information? Please?
Yeah, the contact information, I have the handout, like, because I know that's a lot of writing. I have printed it out for everyone. Jill couldn't come tonight. She really wishes she could have. She would have brought some of the beach wheelchair and perhaps the trail rider out tonight for you guys to show. But that's her contact info. And because a lot of the photos were taken at the bird sanctuary, I included the phone number for the bird sanctuary as well. And Rocky Mountain Adaptive Sports Center, they take people with disabilities, and sometimes they're able to remove some of the barriers, like barriers to transportation to get there, if you talk with them really nicely. So I put their contact too. And for my photography stuff and my poetry stuff, my contact info is all there. I hopefully it works. It worked this morning, so I'm hoping it works now.
All right, thank you so much, Mary.